headsets, and the volume is where it's plugged in. I'm not getting, okay.
Is this gonna be too high, or this is okay?
That'll block your face from the camera a little bit, but it's fine if you're comfortable. But you need to get right in on the mic
Okay, so,
when you talk, so you might wanna
Like right
articulate
here?
a little more. Yeah, I mean, you go like about 2 inches off
Huh?
when you go about 2 inches off when you're talking.
okay.
Okay, there we go. Welcome to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to us on AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The Answer. Welcome to Thursday, which is our Education and Media Day. We're focusing in on education. I'll let you know about our guest in a little bit. I want to invite you, because tonight we're having a very important webinar regarding the media. How we take the media back is what I'm calling it. So I'm going to promote it now throughout the show. If you haven't signed up for it already, go to our website, which is The Peak, P-E-A-K, thepeak.news. You'll see the link for the webinar and sign up. It's at 6 o'clock tonight Mountain Time. And we have Bill Federer, who is a nationally known historian and author and broadcaster. In fact, at the end of this segment, you will hear his American Minute. He's been part of the Peak, his 1-minute podcast giving information about the history of the day that we're on that day. And I asked Bill a few weeks ago, I said, would you do a webinar with me, please, where we can state this vision of what we're doing here at the Peak, to say the quiet stuff out loud, to empower citizen journalists, to challenge the whole system, to fix what's broken and do it on the local level. Let us speak it out across the whole nation, and so that people will know what we're doing here and hopefully come alongside what we're doing here, and then ask us to come help them do it in their area, or just pick it up and go run with it. And so that's what we're doing. So it's called How We Take the Media Back. And again, it's at 6 o'clock tonight. So go to our website, thepeak.news, sign up for it, and we'll see you there on the webinar. It's going to be a really exciting evening. We have people signed up from across the country that are going to be on it. So quick shout out to our platinum sponsor, Springs Dentist and Dr. Craig Summer, Holistic Dentistry in Colorado Springs. Such a big part of our model is local businesses. Small, overall, small local businesses, privately owned businesses. Why is that so important in this model of taking the media back? Well, you know, big corporations bought and paid for everything. And that's why what we've been getting is suppression of information and specific narratives told, others not for so long. So not only do these local business owners really, really care about our community, because they live here, they work here, they run their business here, and so they're concerned about it, and this is why they advertise with us. They do it to provide this service, but also none of them are big enough that they can influence the editorial side here, and none of them want to. First of all, I'll just say that. None of them want to, but if one day they did, because we happened to tell a story and for whatever reason, unfortunately, they didn't like it or they were caught up in it, we can say bye-bye to them and we can move on and continue to do things, not what's happened in the media again over, I don't even know, 100 years or more, where the business department is way too close to the editorial department. We don't do that. But the flip side of that is we also invite our sponsors to come on and be citizen journalists just like everybody else. So what a great mix. Local people, local citizens telling local stories, reporting on local stories, supported by local businesses. And in fact, as we've been doing all week, because this hate crime hoax trial, or actually, as I'm now calling it, the help crime hoax trial, because it was actually seemingly done to help the candidate, not to hurt him or to hate him, but to help him. That trial is going on up in Denver, and we're going to have another report today from Jordan Baldwin on what's going on there. So what are we doing here on Education and Media Day? We're focused in on education, and we have as our guest, been so long, can't believe we've been on the air over a year, haven't had you on, Lori. Lori Thompson, D49 School Board President, and we're going to be talking about overall parents first, children first, of course, but parents first, because that makes children's first, doesn't it, Lori?
Yeah, I don't think the children could exist without the parents. So.
That's true. What came first, the parents or the children? That's an easy one to answer. But Lori, we're going to be talking with Lori about what's going on in D49, and especially regarding their policy regarding not having boys in girls' sports, which nobody would think is controversial, but they filed a lawsuit against the sports organization in the state, so we're going to be talking about that, and overall parents' rights and school choice, and all the things that D49 has really gotten known for over the years. So Lori, thanks so much for being here on the Peak today.
Thank you for having me.
So what is your position regarding education? Have you checked out, we got school board races coming up. Have you, are you involved? Have you checked out? Is it just so overwhelming? Does it feel like there's so much tyranny in this state that it's not worth it? Well, I would say, I know some people are leaving, but the ones who aren't, you can't just sit back. This is coming fast and furious, and we need to figure out, not how to beat each other up. We need to figure out how to make this make sense and have something that represents everybody. And I hope that that's you, and that you're here to get great information so that you can make good decisions, and we as a community can thrive. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. We'll be right back with the Peak. Okay, cool. Okay, we got a 4-minute break, but we're on the live stream, so we're not off air. It's always a hot mic, I'll let you know. So I'll give you my spiel for radio. So basically it's voyeuristic. It's like listening into a conversation in a coffee shop that the people are having at the table there. So it's, it's lively, it's entertaining, it's interesting, and people are listening into that. Because it's just voice, we push more energy out because it tends to shrink down. So there's that sort of intensity and speed that's normal to radio. So project more, might feel over the top, but it's not. Okay, so just do that. If you do chill, it sounds sleepy on the other side. As far as timing cues, this is wrap it up. So if you see that, 10 or 15 seconds, finish your thought, hand it back to me because we need to go to the break or go to another question. If you hear music, that's 30 seconds that's my warning track, 30 seconds to commercial. So same thing, finish up and get it back to me. Otherwise, also, as far as presence and stuff, radio theater, like all emotion has to be vocalized, everything has to come through the voice. So if it's like, or whatever, it adds to the drama of it, to not just be voice, but to have emotion coming through.
Okay.
And when it comes to the monologue, you'll have about 4 minutes once I introduce you. So I'll end up giving you a 3, a 2, a 1, and this means 30 seconds. So you'll have time to put the final chapter on. So when I'm giving you those cues, give me a little chin nod or a blink or something, let me know you see it, and then you'll start to pace yourself with your bullet points to see, can I slow down, can I speed up? If you come up short, I'll ask a follow-up question, but try to fill the time there. And that's it. Otherwise, if I give you, hold up a finger, that's like giving you a 1-minute budget, to answer that question approximately and take it back. I think that's it.
Okay.
Any questions?
No.
Okay. So it's just, lively, passionate, get into it, but because it's radio, it's, it's quick.
I listen to Ben Shapiro, so I might
Okay,
do
well,
it.
This is why it's a great format, but it has its, it has its best practices. I guess that's the best way to say it. So, cool. Okay. So is he calling? I'm not sure he's calling.
Good catch.
this weird workaround.
Okay.
When we do a call in, I have to loop it through the
Oh, so we have a caller?
system. What?
We have a caller?
Call,
people
no,
call.
the reporter is
Gotcha.
calling in from Denver.
Gotcha, okay.
So is any? We're doing four, so, four, four, four. What about the others? What about one, two? No? Three? Okay, you sure? Is that it? Three? Okay. Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to us on AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The Answer. So happy to have you joining us on Education and Media Day, but it's basically Education Day because we have as our guest and co-host for the hour, Lori Thompson, president of the D49 School Board. Lori, again, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Now, in this segment on headlines, sometimes we banter about the headlines, but we're really excited because we commissioned a bunch of citizen journalists. We trained them back in March and commissioned them was it March? Yeah, commissioned them in April, and they've been out working on things. And now we have this I call it the hate crime hoax trial. It's the trial of Derek Bernard and Ashley Blackcloud, who have been accused of committing a hate crime during the mayoral election a couple of years ago. If you can imagine, it was like 2 years ago, the mayoral election so far. Is that amazing?
It
Right,
is.
2023. But during the runoff, there was someone lit a cross in front of one of candidate Mobilade's signs, wrote the N-word on it in red spray paint. And so now the trial is going on up in Denver. Mayor Yemi has testified in it, and we've been reporting on it every day with our great citizen journalists who are up there covering things. And we have on the line with us today our #1 investigative journalist from First Amendment Media, Jordan Baldwin. Jordan.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Well, we can. So how are things going on day 4?
Well, they're going pretty good, I guess, all things considering. We're up here at the Alfred A. Arach Courthouse. We've been up here all week, as you know. Tomorrow is going to be the last day before jury deliberation. It seems as if the prosecution and the defense has rested at this point, with some remaining witnesses still on the list. So tomorrow we're going to go in. We've already started on jury instruction today. So it looks like tomorrow they're going to open with closing arguments. So it looks like this case is pretty much wrapping up. Today got a little crazy, I will say. Our team has been doing great covering this. We had James Dial up here all day. I jumped in to help him because of the craziness throughout today.
Well, what craziness? What are you talking?
Definitely got some juicy stuff out
Well,
of
okay.
the trial today.
Well, tell us, what craziness are you referring to? Jordan?
Well, basically, at the beginning of the day, we heard an intense examination of special advisory witness and case agent in charge of investigating all this, who was with the FBI. And it was during that testimony that the gist of the Daily Wire whistleblower allegations were basically confirmed, stating, that things to the effect that Yemi did lie orchestrated through other local elected official, at least one other local elected official besides Yemi, and their aides, and the mayor himself, obviously. He claimed that there was another related hoax that this mimics, which had worked successfully in the past as a false flag operation during another local election. And so this was something that was mentioned several times that they did get into a little bit more, but it seemed like the FBI did not really investigate.
So he's making accusations that Mayor Yemi knew about this beforehand?
Yeah, I can just read some direct quotes.
Okay, please do.
He said he was aware of what was going on prior and after the fact, and he's stating that he was given guarantees that there would be no prosecution, and that this was a tactical strategy formulated between a group of people, and then later going into again and referencing this other local elected official that was secondary to Mayor Yemi.
So, did the prosecution do anything to destroy his credibility? Did they work against his character?
The judge did warn him that if he chose to take the stand, they would be able to bring up his other conviction for the murder for hire. So he was aware of that, and the prosecution did bring that up, and they did kind of inquire, will it even matter, any sentence matter to you because you already have these charges and you're already in jail. So that was brought up, but his response was, yes, it will, because I'm appealing those charges, and those are actually connected to the trouble that started when I helped Mayor Yemi secure the win, or something to that effect. So this is a very interesting development in the case. We definitely saw the courtroom full of people while Bernard was testifying, and then they all left. We were actually the last ones in the gallery in the courtroom, myself and James. I just walked out. James is still in there. But yeah, we're doing the work that nobody's doing around here, and we're saying the quiet stuff out loud. We're prepared to investigate this further after this wraps up.
Have you been looking at the jury? Did you get any sense for who they're believing and maybe who they're doubting?
Yeah, they definitely seemed like perhaps they were getting a little frustrated with the repetitive rephrasing of questions by the prosecution to Derek. I will say that there was a point where there was some tension, and Derek stated he didn't want to answer or talk to the prosecutor anymore because he was asking him questions and trying to re-ask them in a certain way to get him to say something. And the judge instructed him that he had to, if he chose to do that, he had to continue until it was finished. So they got back on track, and they did finish with that, but it seemed like maybe the whole court was frustrated because the judge did sustain an objection from the defense during that time.
So, just to recap, it seems like with this testimony, and again, who gave the testimony? Was this an FBI agent, or who was it that?
Yeah. This is one of the special agents from the FBI, the main agent that was in charge of investigating this all. He's a 2-year agent with the local FBI, and he also was the special advisory witness. So I just want to clarify, when I went on my other interview, he was up at that prosecution table. He was on the witness list. They did sequester every other witness but him. So that's what we were seeing, was he was in the room because he was the only one allowed to be in there because he was a special advisory witness. They did not use him on the stand until today, and they opened with Mayor Yemi on that Monday.
Okay, and again,
unprecedented.
And with all your research and all that we've put out on the show, you're saying that today in his testimony he confirmed what the Daily Wire alleged, that Yemi did lie when they came and they interviewed him the first 2 times.
Yeah, pretty much. It seems to go right along with everything that we've been finding. So.
Okay, Jordan Baldwin, investigative reporter for The Peak, covering the hate crime hoax, or the help crime hoax trial, however you look at it, of Derek Bernard and Ashley Blackloud. Jordan, thanks so much. You're listening to The Peak. And we'll be right back with Lori Thompson, D49 School Board President. Yeah,
No, that was a good report to
Yeah.
get in.
we were told, originally we started covering this and people were like, there's no story here, why are you doing this, do you have it out for Yemi? I was like, no, my gut tells me. And then we put a whistleblower, form on our site, and somebody popped up who was different than the one who was in the Daily Wire. And so we've been riding on that. They won't reveal themselves. We've been waiting for the trials and everything to come out, but, yeah,
No, I had a friend who sent me the Daily Wire article the moment it came out.
yeah, November,
So,
yeah.
yep.
So, we're gonna see what this means for Yemi, because he was sort of on trial in a way by being a witness. And the fact that he keeps claiming he was a victim when everybody is saying it was done to his benefit, it's like,
And
we
what I
moved
find
on from that.
interesting is I think during his testimony, somebody said that Jimmy had said it might be a black man who did it.
There was something where, when they were interviewing him originally, where he alluded to the fact that it might be a hoax. Like, that he thought it might be a hoax.
Yeah.
So, we're gonna see.
Yep. I didn't know it had happened again in this community. I know it happened during the presidential election in 2008. Something similar happened in Denver, so. Well, you learn to parse minutes well. I keep thinking, okay, when do I need to put this back on?
Yeah, I got a timer going here. So.
Ah, okay.
So, yeah, I don't have the guests look at it. So we're on page 3. It's the importance of freedom and parental rights. Again, you'll have about 4 minutes. And, just keep your energy up.
Okay.
But we're back at, let's see, 2, what are we, that was, 10 to minute and a half.
Okay.
So, no.
I wish, what time is your webinar tonight?
6 o'clock.
My board meeting, we have a special
Okay.
meeting tonight.
Well, sign up and we'll get the
Can you get the
recording.
recording? Okay.
Yeah, so usually I hang out and talk, but the moment this is over, I gotta move into doing tech for the webinar, so.
Yeah, no
Sorry,
problem.
I'd like to catch
No.
up with you, but today there's still, I did my PowerPoints on Mac, and then when I brought them in and tried to run them on this, it's cutting off the edges, so I have to go through 100 PowerPoint slides
Oh,
and
no.
reform,
Resize.
well, like, yeah, reform, it'd probably take me about a half hour, but maybe less, but just all the tech. It's just I don't want anything to go wrong. We've worked so hard to
Mhm.
promote this. Okay, we're back. Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. It's Thursday, so it's Education and Media Day. And, we don't lie to you. We say the quiet stuff out loud. We try to give you good information, have you make up your mind. Seems like Mayor Yemi may have lied. This is something that we've been talking about since November, when nobody else was covering the story. Everybody else was ignoring it. We did it day after day after day, because we knew that there's a story here, and we have no reason to not report on a good story. I mean, think about that. Our mayor has these egregious claims against him, and the media ignores it. And that's a problem. And that's why we're doing this webinar tonight. I'll talk to you about it in the next segment on how we take the media back. I want you to join me at 6 o'clock tonight on this webinar here. But we have now Lori Thompson, president of the D49 School Board, and Lori is talking about the importance of freedom and parental rights. Lori Thompson.
Yes, thank you for having me on. Do you just want me to speak, or
Yep,
the Q&A?
It's all you. Nope, this is the monologue part.
Oh,
It's
okay.
all you.
Okay. You know, it's kind of interesting because part of the reason I wanted to run for school board in the first place is during the COVID shutdowns, we had 15 teenagers in El Paso County commit suicide. So we had a big spike in suicide, and you could really begin to see how it was impacting kids, especially those with special education needs, those who are just learning how to talk and read. And one of the keynotes to learning how to read is to watch how a mouth forms vowels and consonants. And that's something that's pretty difficult to do. So even when they reopened schools, they had people masked up. Now, what was interesting is our local health department had always excluded kids that were 10 and younger from wearing a mask. And so what they did is, one of our board members, before I was on the board, asked the superintendent about that, about the 10 and under, and he goes, well, why don't we just wait another 2 weeks and we'll remove masks from everyone. So we were the first local school district to remove the masking requirements, and we've been the first in a lot of different areas for the size of our school. So then we went into, we developed the anti-CRT resolution, and people either said, oh, that's a college course that doesn't happen, or do you want skewed history, etc. And so our superintendent came up with regulations to go with the CRT resolution, and we spelled out what we do and do not want taught, regardless of whether or not it's in the curriculum. So I have been really proud of the things that District 49 has accomplished. We were the first district to pass a Parents' Bill of Rights and Responsibilities. We have stood firmly for local control. And when you look at Article 9, Section 15 of the Colorado State Constitution, we are only one of 7 states that has local control over curriculum. The other states, the state gets to determine and prescribe what curriculum you will use. Now, we still have to find curriculum that measures up with the Colorado state standards, but local control is really important to me.
What are some other things that you're, even before you came, and we're gonna get into this next segment, sort of the ethos of D49 and parental rights and school choice, you know, now that you're the president, how is that going? How are you dealing with that? Are there people, I'll ask this question. How can they be against it? What is their argument against parents having the right to make these decisions?
You know, that's a great question, but I can tell you, I have seen firsthand that there are people who believe the state should be the one to dictate basically how we raise our kids. And that blows me away that they would think that a governmental authority supersedes their authority as parents.
And are these parents that think that?
Some of them, yes.
How do you think people get to that point? I
Um,
mean,
you know,
really abdicating their responsibility.
how do sub-nations slide into socialism or communism? That's a great question. I would not want to give up my inherent rights and turn it over to the states, especially now when it comes to my kids.
What do you think, folks? Because this is the thing. It's one thing when we're arguing and saying I disagree with you, but it's like, how do people even come up with these concepts? Like to defend, and we're going to be talking about this in the next segment, to defend, you know, anatomical males in women's sports. Like, what is that mindset? I don't know if I can wrap my mind around it, but I'd love to have a discussion about that. If anybody's out there that wants to, you know, talk about that on the air from the other perspective, I think that would be fascinating. Well, we have Lori Thompson, D49 School Board President, with us, and when we come back, we're talking, well, all the different things that are going on in D49, including their lawsuit regarding boys and women's sports.
With SRN News, I'm Ron Taylor.
Okay, 2 minutes.
Okay,
You came up
that's
short,
amazing.
so you came
I
up real
know.
short.
Well, I was trying to figure out how to segue into something else, and
Oh,
it's just
okay.
like one of those.
Okay.
But this
No
is my
problem.
first time.
No, that's fine. It's just I got a little, I wasn't ready.
Okay, no problem. I understand.
Okay, so we're on segment 4 now, and so you can review your questions there. So because we have these, it's really going to be about a minute and a half to 2
Okay.
minutes each, because we have
Now,
extra
is
questions.
this what you're referring to with number 4?
Yeah, should say segment 4 at the top.
One.
No, that would be 1. So do you have, so you have the script? You don't have a script?
No.
Oh, well, that's no good.
Oh, I do have what
You're supposed to have a script. No, it's this. No, it's the script that we did.
Okay,
No, you should have it here. Sorry, just in the confusion, never got it to you.
no,
I thought you've had it in front of me,
today.
so go to segment 4.
Okay,
We're back in a minute. Okay, now you're there. In all the confusion, I never handed you your script.
that's okay, you were working through technical, and I'll have to share a story with you about the media and why it's so important, this webinar you're
Okay,
gonna be
thank
doing.
you. Thank you. Trying to get homeschoolers into this course too. We gotta really start promoting to them.
Is it a homeschool program through BOCES, or is it
No, it's through
independent?
D11,
Okay.
but the homeschoolers can come and sign up for it and do it as CTE and
Yeah.
everything, so. Okay. Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer. And on this Education Day, we have Lori Thompson, President of D49 School Board, with us. But before we get back with Lori, two things. I'm going to mention first a shout out to one of our gold sponsors, Pickle Prosthodontics, your board certified dental implant specialist in Southern Colorado, including dental implants, eye teeth, crowns, dentures, full mouth reconstruction, and sleep appliances. Pickle Prosthodontics, and thanks so much to them. One of our great sponsors that supports this program, keeps us on the air, keeps us encouraged, and provides saying the stuff, the quiet stuff out loud to you. Secondly, tonight, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, we are having a webinar called How We Take the Media Back. And what we're doing is we have Bill Federer, who you hear in the American Minute here in every episode. He's a great historian and author, broadcaster, great guy, just knows everything. I said to him a couple of weeks ago, I said, Bill, do you know the history of how like the media became like it did with manipulating everybody? He's like, absolutely, I have a book on socialism, I'll lay the whole thing out. So the first part of the webinar, we're having Bill laying that out. Then I'm presenting the peak, all the different things that we're doing here as this model that we've been pioneering here for about a year and a half, including now we're going to be teaching in the public schools, a CTE course, career training course in broadcasting, tied into an internship here at the radio station. Really, really exciting stuff. And in fact, special guest, Michael Gall, superintendent of D11, is going to be on the webinar tonight to talk about why he invited us to come in. So go to our website, thepeak.news. You'll see the link for the webinar. Sign up. You got to register. It's at 6 o'clock tonight on Zoom. And we have people from across the country that are going to be on this, because this is our opportunity to speak the vision of this new, as the old media is collapsing and we the people have to take over. I believe we have to, because if not, someone else is going to, and you know who that is. It's going to be centralized control. Is in this little window we have, we need to take the media back locally. That's what we seek to do here on the Peak. And that's why we always have great local guests, and we know each other. That's another thing too. All the people that come on the show, I know most of them, or they become friends now, because hey, we're all neighbors around here and we care about the community. So Lori Thompson, president of D49 School Board, give us your background and your path to becoming the D49 president.
You know, it's kind of interesting. The first time I was asked to run for school board was probably about 17 years ago, and it was by a sitting school board member back then. And she had 5 kids and had gotten very involved. Matter of fact, she's part of the reason that I moved into District 49. So I have 2 children, and originally I had my kids at a private Christian school. And I thought, this is the solution for me. This is going to be the right place. But we actually ran into some difficulty there with very little accountability when things kind of went off the rails. So I took my kids and then I enrolled them into a District 11 school. We had a pretty good experience there, but there were still some elements missing. And then I ended up moving out to District 49. Now at the time, I was a single mom, and I was working full time, and I had these 2 incredible kids and doing everything I could with them at night. And when we finally moved into District 49 and I put them in that school system, we had some of the best educational experiences that we had had. It wasn't perfect, but we had a lot of really good experiences in District 49. And it was a different district then than it is today. So what happened is I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to make a difference for kids, and that's the primary reason that I ran.
And is this your first term, second term?
This is my first term
First term. Okay, so you're up for election
in November.
in November. Okay,
Yes.
okay. Have you declared yet?
I did open a Tracer account, and I
Okay.
do have a committee.
Okay, that means we have to record this with the FCC. So good, I know that, because I have to do that when I have candidates on. So D49 is known to have a strong commitment to school choice and innovation. How did that start? How far does that go back, and how are you continuing it?
Well, it's really incredible. I wish they had had some of the opportunities back when my kids were in District 49 that they do today. And I think a lot of it has to do with, we have a very creative superintendent. He came out of
Peter
TCA. Yes, Peter Hiltz. And also our legal counsel, Brad Miller, plus previous boards. We just started adding charter schools in District 49. When my kids were there, we had one charter school. Now, 52 to 53% of our students go to our district charter schools.
Really?
More than half, yes. And then we have other programs like the Falcon Homeschool Program. We have Falcon Aero Labs, where kids can learn to fly a plane before they can drive a car. We have a culinary program. We have CTE opportunities throughout. Then they started to do college pathways and career pathways. So we have one hybrid school that includes Pikes Peak Early College, and a lot of our students get their associate's degree before they get their high school diploma.
So how much of this is from the state? How much is the state involved in these programs, and how much is it innovation from your district?
The state really didn't have a lot to do with the innovation that's occurring within our district, because remember, we have local control. I think the charter schools started coming, and then they kept coming. And we might be approving another charter school pretty soon. So our most recent charter school to reopen was James Irwin, and that's up off Constitution Avenue.
Okay, let's get into the real controversial stuff about the D49 policy regarding biological boys in girls' sports. You would not think that this is controversial, but it is. What is the policy?
You know, it's kind of interesting because I had a reporter ask this question and say that, isn't this controversial? And my question was, why should it be? So this sports policy spells out that we do have co-ed sports. And you would be surprised at some of the sports that are listed as co-ed. For instance, wrestling can be done based on weight class, not gender. Although we do now have some female wrestling teams, football is a co-ed sport. So anyone can participate in a co-ed sport, but when it comes to single-sex designated sports, we want students to participate as they were born. So if you were born a boy, you would play in boys' sports, and if you were born a girl, you would play in girls' sports, because there are inherent biological differences between men and women, boys and girls.
Now, you have a lawsuit against the Colorado High School Activities Association, CHSAA. Tell us about that.
Well, we had written a letter, and I say we, it wasn't District 49.
Okay.
I would like to be clear also that I am one of 5, so the opinions I share are mine. I do not speak on behalf of my board, except for things that have passed. So originally, we had generated a letter to the Colorado High School Athletic Association asking them to give us clarity about who can play on which teams, because their bylaws are kind of vague. Now, go on. I have heard there might be an update to their bylaws, but I haven't seen them yet. And so after sending that letter, they replied with, oh, we're going to wait and see what happens, especially with Title IX and what's happening on the federal side.
And so, but there is a lawsuit.
Correct. The lawsuit's actually a little bit different. So what we did, and it's not just CHSAA, we also included the Attorney General for the state of Colorado and the Civil Rights Division for the state of Colorado.
And claiming what?
Well, basically, we had heard noise during our meeting that there were people who intended to sue us because of that sports policy, so we were preemptive. And what's really interesting is if you look at Colorado protected classes, sex is also a protected class. So during our last board meeting, I asked if a biological girl does not feel comfortable playing against a transgendered girl, whose civil rights do I uphold? Because there's a conflict. But I believe in girls' sports. So even though our policy talks about boys' sports and girls' sports, the primary concern is girls' sports.
Are there other school districts in Colorado that are adopting similar policies? Anybody joining the lawsuit?
From what I have been hearing, we have a couple of schools that it looks like they are going to follow in our footsteps. And I've also heard there could be other districts coming on board. And I think that's the best way to get it done, is if a district wants to take a look at our policy, see what we're doing with our legal filing, I think a message has to be sent that we want to protect girls' sports.
So let's finish up. I always like people to get involved in things. You have accountability committees that citizens can join. Tell us about those.
Every school has a SAC, or a school accountability committee. Then we have the district accountability, which is called the DAC. And there's so many different committees that people can serve on or help out with. And so the best way for parents to get involved is serve on a committee. Yes, it's a commitment. Yes, you might be tired after working all day, but I want to keep District 49 strong, and we value parental rights. This is a school district that was established 2 years after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. Just to give you the history, back then it was Falcon District 49, now we're District 49, because obviously we moved into the city as well.
So in finishing up, we have about a minute left, is how is D49 able to navigate through this? Some people refer to this as common sense solutions, things that would seem obvious, when other school boards seem to be what people would say is woke, and they're folding to these things. How has D49 been able to stand?
I think that one thing that sets us apart is we value liberty. We value freedom. And also it can deal with the governance model that each school district adopts and operates under. So we actually work with our superintendent to develop policies. And those policies are what runs the school district. And we have very active and vocal school board members.
Okay, well, you've been listening to Lori Thompson, president of the D49 School Board. The website for them is d49.org. When we come back, we're going to be talking with Lori about college pathways and concurrent enrollment, something I'm very interested in because we're going to be teaching a broadcast journalism course tied into an internship here. Not in D49 yet. We're starting in D11, but you can bring us out there. We're very happy once we get it dialed in. But this is very interesting. It's how you can get college credit while you're still in high school. We'll be right back.
I thought that was a hard rap.
That's a
Start
soft
to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this was, I went to give you a 1 minute cue, and
Yeah.
yes.
Jim's talking about his problems with the education system,
Okay, perfect.
and it's 2:40.
240.
It's 10
okay.
seconds up.
So I got 450, and problems with education system.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're set up. I'll punch this. So it's on 3 today. And don't these need to be up and punched in order for our mics to have audio over into the live stream?
Yes.
Okay, because when we started the show, they were not.
Okay.
So I punched. That's why I was like going 1, 2.
Oh, I see.
These were not punched, but it's not 4 today. It's 3 because it's usually 4.
Yeah, I was signaling. What did my text said?
You were saying 3.
Okay. So it'll be put all 3 of these on.
Okay. Well, I did 3 and 4, but even 5. Do we think that George
As long
got out to the live
as long
stream?
as 4 was on. Don't do
Okay.
3. Just do 4 and 5.
Okay, I'm glad because you had said 3, but I did 4 to hedge the bet.
Okay,
Okay.
that's good. I was trying to signal program 3. My bad.
Oh.
So it has to be in program 3. Yeah.
But unfortunately, at the beginning of the show, I wasn't even on the live stream because these weren't punched up.
Okay. Well,
Okay, thank you.
no worries.
Man, it's getting warm in here. We gotta get the AC on. It's going up to 85 tomorrow.
I know it's been vacillating so much. It's kind of like, what do I wear? Sandal day or something?
It's spring in Colorado. Jordan Baldwin says hello.
multiple decayed or missing teeth interfere
Jordan,
with
he's
hearing
the
and
investigative journalist guy.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm Dr. Todd Pickle from Pickle Prosthodontics, your board-certified dental implant specialist in Southern Colorado. We provide
there's that.
visual
Okay,
treatment
we're back in
solutions that
45.
will assist you in maintaining your smile investment for years to come, including dental implants, eye teeth, crowns, and dentures. For more information and to book a free consultation, visit pickledental.com. That's pickledental.com.
Mayweather Boxing and Fitness is an instructor-led group workout designed by Floyd Money Mayweather to help you get stronger, increase energy, and build confidence.
So this is about 4 minutes once we get into it.
And it'll be, once again, back and forth as well.
Yes, we'll be back and
Okay.
forth. Yeah, tell me about college. Yeah, what is it?
Mayweather Boxing and Fitness.
And then, but on this, I have to throw to a pre-recorded segment, so there's no music. So when I give the wrap up, we gotta wrap it up.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go. Welcome back to the Peak News on AM 1460 and FM 101.1 The Answer. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman, and this is our final segment on Education Day with Lori Thompson, president of D49 School Board, and we're talking about college pathways and concurrent enrollment. This is really exciting. You know, as you were saying, when your children were in school, like these things didn't even exist. They were existing. We didn't, as homeschoolers, we didn't even know about them until recently. So these really need to be promoted because even with the homeschoolers, you know, saying we want vouchers, and we would. We'd like to just have the money, but the way to tap into the money is to get involved in these. So tell us basically what are these programs?
Well, actually, it's career pathways and concurrent college enrollment.
Okay.
And so career pathways can take a variety of different directions. The other day I was touring Falcon High School and they are setting up a new automotive shop. And now I heard that 60 to 80% of new cars are electronically controlled. So they are right next to a laboratory because some of the kids who are going to be learning automotive skills also need to have the electronics background. So it's just the college, the concurrent college enrollment, as long as they don't have their high school diploma, we can pay for college courses as part of the per pupil revenue and what comes in. So a lot of our kids, like I had mentioned before, they actually can get their associate's degree in engineering. My second cousin, Jasmine, did that with P-TECH before they get their high school diploma. It's just great opportunities, whether it's going to be vocational or whether it's going to be going towards a college education. So there's so much choice. That's the part that's totally amazing to me.
Well, what are some of the other tracks that students can take?
Okay, they could do an agricultural track. The other day there were a couple of horses visiting our school. I had mentioned Falcon Aero Lab. They can learn to fly an airplane. They can do a culinary pathway. There are so many different ones that we have approved. We have everything from dressmaking. Get this, we have a drone battlefield. So not only do you learn how to fly drones, we have video gaming courses where you learn to develop video games. So there's just so many choices, from high-level engineering choices to things that are more practical for real-life segments such as automotive. That I'll get back to that one.
Right, and the goal of this is obviously that students can graduate already having a trade or going into a profession, or maybe having tried stuff out and figured out they don't like it and they want to go in another direction before they start having to pay for college credits, get into debt and all that mess. And maybe, you know, with an associate's degree, for a lot of people, that's all you need.
Oh, yeah. And some it just segues on to their bachelor's, their master's, their PhD, however far they want
But
to go.
saving them a couple years of college
Exactly,
and
saving their
money,
parents
time
a
and
couple of
money.
years of tuition as well. Let me tell you, the parents appreciate it. Now, I do believe that if they sign up for concurrent enrollment and they don't complete the class, or if they drop out, then they have to pay for the class.
Okay, okay, that's good to know. So again, this is all initiatives that come from the district. This isn't anything, I mean, it's obviously legal to do within, but you've come up with these initiatives, I mean, modeling other places, but There's nothing comes down from the state on this. This
That's
is-
correct. And
They're just the money.
other, yeah, which, where do they get the money from?
From here,
Yes.
from the
And
property
so-
taxes.
What happens too is District 11, District 20, they're the two most similar size district. They also offer concurrent enrollment. I think District 11 just signed up for the concurrent college enrollment with Pikes Peak State College, and they've been with us for a few years.
Yeah, the course that we're finishing up now was approved by the D11 school board a couple weeks ago. We're looking, it'll have, be accredited by Pikes Peak State College too.
Uh-huh.
So this is all very exciting, and, you know, parents out there, know your options, know you're not even stuck in your district necessarily. You can shop around really anywhere in Colorado. Lori Thompson, President of D49 School Board, thanks so much for being on the Peak.
Well, thank you for having me.
And D49.org is the website. Now, Jim Miller, just a guy in the Peak rants talking about, well, ranting about the educational system.
I'm Jim Miller. I'm a Marine. I'm somebody's kid. I am a father. I am a husband. I am an uncle. I'm somebody's brother out there. I ran for city council. I've run for mayor. I'm just a guy, and this is the big rants. All right, education system, right? Now, what I'm starting to get a little sick and tired of is I think part of the education system needs to sit back and leave some things to the parents of some of these children. Look, stop trying to emasculate the girls in our families, okay? The little girls, you know, stop trying to feminize our boys in the family too. First off, they're kids. Let them be damn kids with everything they're doing, okay? So that's no place for school or the education system to be doing anything of that sense, period, anyways. Alright? Another piece and a problem and a part of the school, the education system, I'm starting to have a little issue with, is they almost box in every bit of imagination or natural risk-taking aspect that children have. Children are risk takers. They're risk takers from the get-go. They want to explore, see, check things out. Their imaginations are running wild and rampant, and they want to explore and see things. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, it's just a kid. Yeah, and you're like, yeah, it is a kid being a kid, but don't nullify that. That's a very big part that gets nullified out from a lot of kids. It makes them just compliant, dull, just adults that don't think beyond, I need to have the government, I need to have this organization, I gotta be part of a group, I can't think on my own. It hinders everything that just makes an individual an individual. The exploratory nature just, it makes them where they're fearful of taking any kind of risk. If there's no risk, there's never any reward. You're just gonna sit out there in the world. If you don't make waves, you have nothing to surf on. The education system needs to quit making our children, this next generation, scared of taking risk. Okay? Real risk. To get real rewards. Being an individual. Understanding their sovereignty, their liberties, their freedoms, their rights to explore and do things. Remember, you want to better, be better. I'm Jim Miller, I'm just a guy, and this is the Peak Rants on AM 1416, FM 101.1 The Answer. We'll be right back. My dentist saved my life. Not something you hear every day. Unless you're talking to one of
So I need to do a show close, but we're done.
Okay, oh, we don't do the monologue?
You did the monologue.
Oh, I did it up front?
Yeah.
Did I talk about the Kelly Loving yet? If I didn't, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you,
I may have mixed up my segments of what to do where, because I didn't even know this was for me, that one page, but it's fine.
oh,
If you think it went good, I'm fine.
it's what you wanted, but that was that segment 3 was the monologue.
Okay,
Yeah, so you never, you
no,
didn't end up,
that's fine.
yeah, you just started talking about stuff, I didn't know what you were.
I didn't know, well, I didn't have the script,
Okay,
so, no, that's fine. So what I was gonna tell you about real quick, if you have a
yeah,
moment,
yeah,
so I was
and
talking
just know
about,
we're still live streaming.
okay. Oh, is
It's
it,
going up, yeah.
it's still a live stream right now?
We're still live streaming, yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
Hello.
just so you know.
but,
Don't mind me, I gotta come in here and charge some headphones
okay.
for Jeff, since he's coming up here soon. And then you're staying in this studio?
Well, I mean, Zach should be here momentarily, I have to go fix the PowerPoints. He was just gonna check on stuff, play around with, doing the webinar,
Okay,
and he has to practice co-hosting and stuff, so
okay,
that's why we needed
tell you, when they were talking about the white farmers from South Africa, I had been aware of that situation for years. And I was telling a family member about it because they thought it was tied to Elon Musk. And so I was Googling it, and when I went through, what was popping up is CNN says, South African president denies that this happens. Then I saw another one that says, oh, this is being denied, and oh, is it because they're white? And I had to actually go to a news source in the United Kingdom to report on the confiscation of lands and the torture and murders of white farmers. So it was almost like this scrub filter, just like we had during COVID of things you cannot say. But I had to go to a European source to get information about them being attacked, about the police not doing anything. So you are really right to do this segment on taking back the media, because it's spun. It is spun in such a way that it's hard to get to
And if
accuracy.
we're, the overall, by bringing it to the local level, like the lesser magistrate, bringing it back to the people who are actually there,
Local
we
control.
we have responsibility to the community. We live here. Our neighbors keep us accountable. If I report on a school board meeting, it's like, well, I was at that meeting. That's not what happened. Like,
Mhm.
but we can't do that when the news is coming from and we weren't there. So,
Yeah.
so things tighten up when you bring it back to the local level. So,
Well,
yeah. Well, thanks again for joining us for another week of The Peak. We are honored to be able to serve our community, this grassroots, citizen journalist, interns, local people, local stories. This is where the media needs to be. And there's a lot of reasons why, and we've been, experimenting with this for the past year and a half since we launched The Peak. And the opportunity has come for us to speak this vision out over the whole country, and I'm very excited to do that. You just heard that in that commercial. So I invite you, it's at 6 o'clock tonight. It's called How We Take the Media Back. Historian Bill Federer is going to be laying out the background of really how this happened, this whole media manipulation. And then we're going to be talking about the Peak, sharing it with people around the country, and special guest, D11 Superintendent Michael Gall is going to be on, because he invited us, I don't know, about 9 months ago to develop a class for teaching broadcast journalism and ethics and tying it into an internship. They're going to be putting in a radio studio at Wasson campus. It's very, very exciting stuff. And we want people to do this around the country. So one, you'll learn more about what we do here so you can get involved. And secondly, people around the country can find out what's going on here and hopefully adopt it. So go to thepeak.news, go to the webinar link, sign up, and we'll join you at 6 o'clock on Zoom. Well, we air Monday through Thursday, so we're off tomorrow. Dirk Hobbs and the Business Digest Weekly will be here at 3 to 4 on The Answer. Larry Elder Show is coming up next, so check him out. Always great, the Sage from South Central here on The Answer. And we're pushing almost 250 shows. At the end of the month, we'll have 250, and all of them are on podcast on our website. So you can go to thepeak.news, go to our podcast page. The Peak, we say the quiet stuff out loud, and as more and more join us, and that includes you, we will say it even louder and louder and louder. We need to use our voice. The First Amendment is just a right. We need to exercise it for such a time as this. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on the webinar. Shalom.
okay, so is this mine?
Yes,
Okay.
that's all about the Peak. That's what
So
we're
I
doing.
apologize for mixing up my monologue,
That's
but hopefully there weren't too many errors.
No, well, people don't know what we, they don't know what we didn't do, right?